welcome to episode 4, part 4? Something like that. This game is so good. We're seeing the aftermath of a lot of things. But I am a little nervous for Stella because we haven't seen her in the past couple of episodes. So hopefully she's alright. Avery is still with us. Love that for us. Our relationship with Tabitha is really high. Chef's kiss. So let's just hope that everyone stays alive. Alright, I won't bore y'all with another long intro. Let's just get into it. And this is where we left off. We were just talking to Tabitha. And yeah, so now we're just closing the door behind us. You find Kanika and Avery waiting for you outside. You don't look like you found any new leads. Feels like we've done our due diligence here. Come on, I'll drive us back to town. We can figure out our next move from here. I don't know what to do. Where to next? We should go to the cops, right? Are you sure? Nothing against the officers of Scarlet Hollow, but you've met them, right? Do you think it's worth the trouble? As unhelpful as they are, we are dealing with a missing person. That's cop stuff. It's probably going to be more of a formality than anything. There's no point in not covering all of our bases. I don't think we've ever been to a police station. Oh shit, it's Bo! Police station is exactly what you would expect from a town the size of the Scarlet Hollow. It smells strongly of coffee and faintly of aged furniture and paper, and the general tidiness speaks of a department that doesn't get much of anything done. But you're also not alone here. You entered to find a worried Bo standing between you and the officer behind the desk. Big Betty wasn't just a pumpkin, Deputy Frank would say. She was gonna be a prize winner. Raising her was the last thing me and my daddy did together. She's important to our family. The Scarlet Hollow police are spread pretty thin at the moment, young man. Any property disputes will have to wait, if indeed there is a dispute to be had. Are you sure it wasn't some animal that took your vegetable? Sir, you know Mr. Tremaine thinks that land belongs to him. He probably thought Big Betty was his to take. He ain't coming to his door. So for all I know, he might be all the way to State Fair by now with our pumpkin. Ain't there something you could do about it? Hey, I remember you. You're the mayor's security guy. We also met on Monday. I'm a man of many hats, and all of them give me authority over you, so you best watch yourself. Excuse me? Stella ran off last night, and she's still missing. A missing person. Apologies, Mr. Calloway, but I'm gonna have to handle this first. Deputy Franken pulls out a few forms to the front desk and holds them out. If one of you can fill these out, please. I can take care of that. Thank you so much for taking this seriously, Mike. I know Stella has a tendency to go on hiking trips, but this feels different. She can't be in her right mind going back out in the woods after what happened to my daddy. Are you sure you can't start looking right now? She shouldn't be off on her own when there are so many ditchlings around. Are you sure you can't... Ditchlings? Ash taught me about them yesterday. Them things got my daddy. I called about them last night too, since they've been coming up out of the woods onto the farm. I didn't see some on my way here, plain as day. I remember the call in question. We may have gotten a few calls from other folks as well. But Hugby and Derrickson don't seem to be too concerned. I trust the sheriff on this one. Have Hugby and Derrickson seen them? Have you? Those things are everywhere right now. The most concerning thing I've seen in this town since I first moved here. Look, we're stretched thin enough as it is. If you think the town should have a dedicated animal control department, you're welcome to take it up with the mayor. Your dog, take it up with your friend's cousin. And to answer your question, my orders are to man the station, but I'll be sure to start an investigation as soon as I'm relieved. Well, did you manage to find your dad? Bo's stoic expression breaks for a moment. You almost see the tears forming in his eyes, but he blinks them away. If only we had the power for build. So if you had the power for build in this, you would be able to save Gretchen and Duke, and everything would be okay. You know? No, I ain't found him. I had to stop looking so I could stay home and guard the farm. There are more of those things every minute, seems like. Do you think they'll go back where they came from soon? They'll leave once the coming disaster has finally struck. what's this about a disaster? It's just something my mom told us about those creatures. You know how she is with her ghost stories. I don't think we should be underselling things too much, Kanika. Thank you, Avery. There really might be some kind of disaster brewing. I think we can all admit that things have been getting weird around Scarlet Hollow lately, right? Just something to keep in mind. The farmhouse has stood for over 100 years. I don't think Mama and me will have too much worry about any disaster. I just want things to leave us alone. They caused us enough trouble. I just want to remind you all that you're speaking in front of a member of the law enforcement, and any and all suspicious statements are being cataloged. Seriously? Do you really not have anything better to do than try to pin disasters on innocent people who are trying to stop them? I'm not at liberty to discuss whether I have anything better to do. Then go find Stella. What's all this about a pumpkin? Julius Tremaine stole Big Betty, and I'm trying to get the police to talk to him. And I've been telling Mr. Calloway that there's no way to prove who the vegetable in question belonged to. If there's no documentation, it's your word against his. Yo, this cop ain't shit, bro. The Calloways and the Tremaines have been at this a long time. Some of you from over a century ago split the families. They've been at it ever since. What makes you think Julius stole it? He's been claiming Big Betty was his since day one. On account of he thinks it was planted on his side of the property. He's never been good about property line, same as every Tremaine that came before him. We get our fair share of calls from Mr. Tremaine as well. Not that I'm at liberty to discuss confidential police information. Can't they just put a fence over shit? The Calloways and Tremaines have been at this forever. It's practically a part of the town's foundation at this point. I was hoping we'd get a reprieve from this nonsense of what happened to my daddy, but it don't look like he's willing to give us any time to grieve. You know, Julius is a friend of mine. He's a lot of things. He's definitely a bit of a curmudgeon, but I never pegged him as a thief. I don't know Julius ever talked to anybody. Talk is a strong word, but I like to think we have some kind of understanding. Why is this pumpkin so valuable? She's gonna get us the blue ribbon. Daddy says she was near 2,000 pounds. We were supposed to be at the state fair by now, but doesn't look like that's gonna happen this year. And Mr. Tremaine ain't even coming to his door to answer for what he done. Just hold up like the coward he is. At the very least, he could give me back some seeds from what's left of it so I could try again next year. She was an important pumpkin to our family. You know, I haven't seen him since Tuesday. He's usually in the diner every day. Not necessarily a big deal for a lot of people, but he never misses his morning job. So maybe he isn't a thief. Could it be something happened to him? If he ain't the thief, then who stole our pumpkin? Beats me. I just don't think folks should be so quick to jump to conclusions. How do you even move a 2,000-pound pumpkin? I don't know how he did it, but he did it. It could have easily been a bear, or a mountain lion, any large animal. Weren't no bear, we're hunting folk, we know the signs. This is a man's work, and that means it was Mr. Tremaine. He knew just what to do to hurt our family. If you're related to Julius, why can't you put your differences aside and get along? Someone's got to be the bigger man. That's what I always told Daddy. But now Daddy's gone, and so is Big Betty. And I'm not feeling quite as peaceful as usual. I suspect Mr. Tremaine feels about the same. I don't think either one of us can let bygones be bygones just yet. Not to get involved in personal family matters or anything, but this was a pretty low blow for Julius. Oof. I wouldn't let bygones be bygones either. You know, Mike, it sounds like Bo has a real case here. It's not just two neighbors getting angry at each other. Property's been stolen. Couldn't you get involved on his behalf just this once, after everything he's been through? This isn't the first time there's been theft between Calloway and Tremaines. We've heard it all. We know exactly how it'll play out. Trust the police to do the policing, ma'am. You're ice cold, Deputy Franklin. This is the prized pumpkin we're talking about. Help the guy out. It's our job as police to remain impartial when it comes to the citizens of the towns we protect. None of us have it out for Mr. Calloway or Mr. Tremaine. We're just doing what we can to uphold the safety and security of all residents of Scarlet Hollow. And you're doing a great job. You know, even if Julius didn't take Big Betty, It might be worth doing a welfare check. Look, kid, I'd love to help. The sheriff has a standing order not to step foot on the Tremaine homestead. The man loves his booby traps. That's never stopped me. I don't make the rules. You have to take it up with Sheriff Hugby. If I may, sir, ain't that might be a bit cowardly of you? I thought police officer was supposed to be brave. This isn't about courage, Mr. Calloway. This is about public safety. And it's about the sheriff's judgment and authority outweighing my own. What an ass. Look, I've been to Julius 100 times. I can tag along and make sure nobody gets hurt. Look, I'll pass it along when he gets back, but he has his hands full right now. I can't make any promises. Weird question, but are you a part of a cult? Cult? Like devil worshippers or hippies or such made-up nonsense? There's no such thing, kid. Prince Lord Sunglass once again. His judgmental gaze tells you he's considering whether you're fully sane. You know, we only started getting weird calls when you rolled into town. Maybe you're projecting. Maybe it's you who brought a cult to our peaceful little town. It looks like you're busy. We'll be on our way. And he hands the completed report back to Deputy Franklin. Thank you, ma'am. I'll get these filed right away. Good luck out there. I hope Miss Richmond is all right and y'all find her soon. We'll be on our way. Best keep your nose clean out there, Ash. Try to stay out of trouble. Shut up. Like, why won't they just do their job so my achievement is? Do you really think Franklin could be a part of some cult that secretly runs Scarlet Hollow? That'd be wild. He takes himself way too seriously to do that sort of thing. As someone who's lived in this town my entire life, there's no way. For one thing, cult activity like what you're describing just doesn't happen. I've done my fair share of reading on satanic panics and so-called occult groups, and it's almost always totally made up. People constantly freak out about Satanists without realizing they're just a bunch of debate club nuts who listen to heavy metal. So, instead of not being able to rely on the cops because they're part of a cult that strictly runs the town, we can't rely on them because they're just not good at what they do. That's so much less exciting. But either way, I guess it's up to us to solve the mysteries of Scarlet Hollow. We'll do a much better job anyway. Where to next? As you're getting next steps, you remember your appointment with Sybil. She seemed to be confident last night that Stella would be okay. Maybe she'll be able to help you find her. Nobody ever seems to say anything to undermine her, except for her daughter. And daughters always clash with their mothers. This town trusts her. And she'd never disparage your gift. Perhaps she's one of the few people in town who could truly understand you. You should talk to your mom. I'm supposed to have tea with her today. My mom wanted to talk to you. She's probably going to give you some rocks or bundles of herbs for protection or something. You can humor her. Let's do it. I love Avery. Avery's down for the cause. Bells at the general store chime welcomingly as the three of you enter. Kanika, there you are. You were supposed to stay in bed today, remember? And hello, you two. Hope you're both recovered from last night's fiasco. Sorry, Mom. It's just that Stella's missing, and Stella can take care of herself. Unlike you. Okay, Sybil. Stella can take care of herself, unlike you. You need bed rest and lots of fluids. You don't need to go running around town spreading that cold of yours. Go on, get up to bed. I'll be up in a minute with more tea. I thought you had some kind of important thing to talk to Ash about. I'm really feeling okay. I want to hear what you wanted to say to her. You're definitely not up for it after all that running around. And besides, I'll be doing a tea reading. Those always bore you to tears. Go on upstairs, sweetie. Okay, you're right. I'm not feeling well. I should really lie down. Bye, Ash. Kanika turns and heads towards the stairs without saying another word. Keen-eyed. Good thing Kanika has her mom looking out for her. She seems so tired today. You'll probably be able to find Stella without her. I'm so sorry to be a bad host, Avery, but I was hoping Ash and I could do our reading in private. I'm sure Winnie needs help at the diner. You're right. I've totally left her on our own today. Fine by me. I wouldn't want to miss with your tea vibes. I'm sure those leaves are very particular. Oh, but before I go, I did want to ask. You a witch? As flattered as I am that you think that I'm that magical, I'm just an old lady who likes tea and has a few unusual hobbies. Unusual hobbies, you say? Look, I'm just saying, doing stuff like reading tea leaves is pretty witchy as far as I'm concerned, but I won't push it. Though, just so you know, if you are a witch, you could totally tell us. We'd be cool about it. I'll leave y'all to your not supernatural private tea leaf reading. We'll catch up tomorrow, Ash. Damn, so we're not going to see Avery the rest of this episode. They make their way out of the general store, disappearing down the street in the direction of the diner. Shall we? Sybil motions towards the tea room. Oh, yes. Ah, yes. Apparently, so I have been part of the Scarlet Hollow Discord, and the Discord, or not Scarlet, Black Tabby Games Discord, and I've gotten updates, and apparently there is some wild shit that happens in here. So I am prepared. I am all right. So I am prepared. I am okay. I'm just a little nervous. Please have a seat. I'll bring a fresh cup. Hello? You take a seat at the small table at the edge of the room. It's dark here, only a sliver of sunlight able to filter through the heavy curtains, supplemented by the bright grow lights of over the plant in the counter. Okay, Sybil. She's kinda... Sybil joins you at the table and places a cup in front of you. The smell's light and citrusy, with the undercurrent of decaying earth. The same tea you sampled the Avery at the diner on Tuesday. I'll be able to do a reading once you're done. Until then, how about we just chat? Sip your tea. Tea reading. Take a sip, tea, sipping it delicately. The citrus smell is fleeting, quickly replaced with the earthiness at its core, like you've taken a mouthful of dirt. But aftertaste combines the two flavors in something soothing and medicinal, and you find yourself feeling more comfortable, your muscle relaxing for the first time in days. So, how did you wind up in Scarlet Hollow? Oh, my family's been in these hills for a long time. That's how I know so much of the local flora. Everything I've learned was handed down from generations of hill folk. There hasn't always been a reliable doctor up here, especially not one most folks could afford. They have to figure out their own medicine. So you mean to tell me that Sybil was a root doctor before... Okay, let's... The other day you promised to tell me. What was it? Unsavory tales of my mom's youth? I most certainly did, though I might have been exaggerating a bit for dramatic effect. I'm prone to do that. In a town this size, you get to know everybody, no matter what the age difference might be. Vivian was a little younger than me, which meant I always had a certain older sister instinct about her. Her family wasn't good to her. Brilliant was a lot like your great-grandmother, Edwardine, which is to say she was not a very kind woman. Similar to Tabitha, but with more social grace and considerably more hatred for a fellow man. But your mother wasn't a shrinking violet either. She was just as stubborn as any other Scarlet, so her family choosing her as the punching bag made her into quite the rebel. Oh! Why were Pearl, Anne, and my mom raised by Edwardine? What happened to their mother? Their entry into the world was violent, I'm afraid. Their mother was young. Too young to be pregnant, especially with twins. She didn't survive the labor. Fuck, what do you know about my grandma? I'm afraid there isn't much I can tell you. I think there were two in that generation. The eldest died and the girls were still children. Edwardine never spoke about them, nor did your mother. I feel like I know a lot about the women in my family, but what about the men? Did they even exist? I suppose they just haven't been very noteworthy since Edwardine took over their lives. Her husband died a long time ago, and to be quite honest, I can't even recall his name. It might have been Stuart or something just as forgettable. From what Vivian said, her father was some teenage fling that ended once your grandmother found out she was pregnant. I'm fairly certain it was similar for Vivian, though she was much older. And I believe she was the one who ended it, what with skipping town and all. What happened when my mom found out she was pregnant? She came for me for advice. She was distraught. It was like she'd been handed a death sentence. Maybe it was fear from what had happened to her own mother. Maybe it was something else. But she seemed convinced she was in danger. Tabitha had already been born by then, of course, but she was born in wedlock, so I assumed your mother's worries had something to do with religion. Though the Scarlets weren't particularly religious as far as I knew. By the way, Vivian was that night she came to me. It's stuck in my mind. It's always had me wondering what it was about your family that made her panic so much at the thought of having a baby. Just finish the tea. Close your eyes and take another sip, and then another. It's delightful. Tea is gone before you know it. A small cup empty save for what's left of rehydrated leaves coating the bottom. Oh, good. Glad you found the tea palatable enough to drink. Should do you some good. It's one of my more medicinal blends. Now on to business. Sybil takes the teacup from you, staring thoughtfully down the sludge. Oh dear, this doesn't bode well. You've just got about every warning that can fit in the bottom cup. Cross, kettle, hourglass. All of these means death, misery, difficulty. And the hourglass ties it all together with definite urgency. It's fair to assume that this is all has to do with whatever brought the ditchlings. Something is coming, and whether any of us can stop it, I'm not sure. But we may at the very least be able to figure out what it is. And there's a central figure here, a cat, an enemy lurking in plain sight. A cat, an enemy lurking in plain sight. Frou Frou? Tabitha, Wayne, Stella, Kanika, Oscar, Reese? Honestly, it can't be like an actual cat. Alright. Hear me out. I think it could be Avery. Hear me out. Hear me out. Avery is the only one. Avery I like a lot, but he seems to be the only one with excitement about these things happening. And Tabitha doesn't know who he is. I don't know. I'm just gonna say that cat could be Avery. One of the last people says that means the first one I should suspect, right? It's always the hot ones. They're one of the last people I would suspect, so that means they're the first person I should suspect, right? I don't think that's quite what's meant by enemy in plain sight. If I were you, I wouldn't go casting my suspicions too wildly. That way his lies nothing but paranoia. Besides, I know Avery, and they're no cat. I like to think I can read people pretty well, and Avery is the sort to be loyal to those they see as friends, even to the bitter end. You should trust your own judgment here. Friend or family, the cat will make itself known soon enough. You don't have to figure out an answer right away. It often takes time for the mind to connect the dots. Just be on guard, keep vigilant, and that someone close to you isn't to be trusted. We know from the ditchlings that something terrible is coming your way, and it's likely that it's connecting to some hidden enemy. The dude in the house? That's what counteract whatever might be planned for you. Judging by what you told me last night, those stones, carving seals, whatever you want to call them, I think it's likely they have something to do with this. Until the cat reveals itself, it seems like your best course of action is to seek these carvings out. Piece together what you can from your visions and arm yourself with information. Have you sensed any others around town? Do you think you may be able to find another? Your thoughts drift to that door yesterday, the one that seemed to draw you in, urging you deeper into the clinic. Even just remembering is enough to tug at you, compelling you to return and open it to see what's on the other side. You can find Stella later. Maybe you could even find her there. What's important now is finally seeing what's hidden in the... I think I felt another in the clinic. That's good. If you can find your way inside and uncover another stone, that could give you a leg up on your adversary. You'll just have to be careful to avoid the doctor. Something tells me she won't take too kindly to you sniffing around her clinic. I think that's all the help I can offer. I hope this conversation has been illuminating, even if it's just brought up more questions than giving any clear answers. You helped last night, why don't you come with me? I may have been able to see through the spirit's illusions, but I'm not some kind of all-powerful entity. I'm an old woman. I have trouble with my knees, and my eyesight isn't what it used to be. In most situations, I'd be more of a liability than a helpful companion. Imagine I've been in those mines with you. Some use I'd be, struggling to climb over rocks and ladders, throwing my back out from all the crouching. Thanks, I'll let you know if I find anything. Glad to hear it. I hope all goes well, and I wish you luck. Hopefully you won't need it. Thank you again for humoring old lady and stopping by for a chat. With a small grunt of effort, Sybil gets up from the table, and you're escorted back to the door. And remember, be careful who you put your trust in. According to your teeth, the cat is getting ready to pounce, and merely being ready for it might not be enough. I hope it's not Tabitha. Sybil closed the door to the tea room. The bells of the door strangely flattened the stale air of the nearly empty general store. Fuck. We're gonna stop here. Thank you for chilling with me for another episode, another part. I'm gonna have the next part up as soon as possible, as soon as I can. Who could the cat be? I would think that the cat would be Tabitha, but she took a hit for us. It can't be Stella. Unless Stella is the one that's ready to pounce. Or Avery? Unless it's literally Frou-Frou. But I think the cat is probably the person that's hiding in the house. And Tabitha wasn't as open to me as I want her to be, but we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Thank y'all for chilling here. Let's wait for the next part. Okay, bye. See you later. Bye.